So hello again, Facebook. So hello from the Haydn Temple, where I'm here running an interview series for the launch of Inside the Temple. And so this week I've been interviewing a whole handful, a plethora, I want to say, of amazing speakers, teachers, mentors from all around the world who are coming on and sharing just a taster of their gifts. And so everybody who's being highlighted during this series is actually people who will be part of Inside the Temple moving forward. So Inside the Temple is a brand new platform that I'm in the process of doing a campaign for to raise the funds, actually. So this is way more than a kind of podcast series. What you're getting right now is just a taster of the big platform that's to come, which is where we will actually deep dive with these teachers and mentors and spiritual leaders from all around the world. Basically, they'll be giving their content and their workshop series as if you were going to see them. And so that's really in the long-term vision. And so for right at the moment, we're doing an interview series of tasters, and I've got the very beautiful Sally Love, and I can see that she has just come on. Oh, see that she has just come on. So let's try and bring her on with me. Says she's adding, so she shouldn't be a moment. There we go.
Hello.
There
Hi.
she is. Hi, Sally.
How are you?
Thank you for joining. Good, darling. How are
Pleasure.
you?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, honey.
Fantastic.
Really good. Hey, Michaela.
Yeah, there's a few beautiful people jumping on. So I was just thinking, I was like, so how do I introduce Sally? And then I was like, well, she's kind of like the jack of all the spiritual trades. She's kind of got a toolbox full of all sorts of things. So I was like, I don't think there's really one title for you unless you go by a specific title.
No, I don't actually. It's something I've kind of struggled with, to be honest, the whole branding thing and, creating identity by calling yourself something. I know, like, in business sense, it's wise to market yourself as one particular thing, but having been in the health and wellness industry and spiritual industry for over 2 decades now, I have, accomplished kind of a few different courses and degrees and workshops, and as a result, use all those modalities kind of fused and mixed together to assist planetary and personal evolution. Yeah.
Which is exciting. So there's a few of those areas that I really am feeling to dive into with you today. And the place I'm really feeling actually to start is the 13th rite, the Munakai rite of the womb. I would deeply love if you would share, like, what is that rite?
Okay, so there are 9 rites of the Munich, which were brought back from the Andes, so the Peruvian mountains, by Alberto Veluda. Although there's a 13th rite, which is the rite of the womb, which was by his wife, Marcela Lobos. And that was actually handed down through the lineage of the midwives in the Amazon back in 2014. So she initiated 200 women, and they basically have gone on to pass on the lineage from the Shipibo Nation. And the rite of the womb is really about releasing fear and pain from the womb and transforming it into creativity and coming from a space of love. So healing the genetic imprints from our past, and also from healing the personal trauma that we've been through, or the feminine lineage before us have been through as well. So yeah, that's the rite of the womb, and I incorporate that into the Sacred Womb Wisdom Workshop that I'll be facilitating with you and that I've done a few times here at Unity Wellbeing. And yeah, through that we also go through sacred cacao ceremony and do Reiki and do fire ceremonies and sound healings, and it's just a beautiful sacred space for women to come together in circle and connect in and really drop into heart space and womb space and shift and release kind of what's no longer serving them, and also have the opportunity to go into forgiveness and surrender and communicate energetically and with the mother and the father lineage and and also the men that they've previously been with, or if men attend the womb of the rite of the womb, which they can, going into their feminine lineage of their mother, and even forward 7 generations with their daughter as well. So it is a rite that can be transmitted to both men and women, although majority of the time it is promoted mostly towards women. But I've had a few men who have received the rite, and it's been so beautiful to witness, and they've been in that sacred space with their partner, and just seeing the energy between the partnership after the rite's been given to both of them is truly sublime. It's really potent.
Wow, beautiful. There's definitely, I'm noticing a shift of a lot of men wanting womb work, which is just beautiful. Really enjoying seeing that.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, at the core of it, the truth of it is we do have that masculine and feminine energy within us, regardless of our sex. So yeah, I think it's really important that both the men and women start doing womb work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so excited to have you at the retreat. I am, I cannot wait. I feel like it's the most delicious addition to what was already a really potent retreat. So thank you for saying yes to joining for that.
Oh my gosh, I so can't wait until I can join yours, and be a participant. Yeah, it's going to be really, really exciting. And I really honour what you're bringing forward too with the aesthetic way of the womb retreat. It looks amazing. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really such a beautiful place that you and I meet in our work, is around the womb. And I really would like to dive into that a little bit with you. But I can feel it's so interesting. Like before we jumped on the call, I've asked for the shared channel between us. And it's like there's all these things trying to come in at the same time. I can just hear all these questions I'm supposed to ask you at once. I'm like, can we have one at a time? So the place I'm feeling to bring through is actually, you mentioned about like genetic imprints. And I'm wondering actually if you can touch on what that is.
Great question. Yeah, I'll give it my best shot verbally. This is my first live, by the way. Hello, everyone. So I'm much better at actually working without words. So I work with energy a lot. And I love working in space with small groups of people. So I'll try and put words to your question. So what are the imprints, the genetic imprints? So before I was doing a lot of energy work and shamanic work, I was a naturopath, and I still am, obviously. And I specialized in fertility and also infertility, women's health and preconception care. And with that kind of side of things, there's a lot of focus, even though it's natural medicine, on the physical side. So, what we can do to kind of help with endometriosis or PCOS or fibroids. And, I just always kept feeling into there's an emotional and a spiritual kind of part here that's not really being looked at. And that's when I started also using Reiki with my infertility clients. And my clairvoyant abilities that I've had since I was born really kicked in, and I started seeing how the lineage from the mother, so the mother, the grandmother, and 7 generations back, and then also from the father, obviously because that's the seed that comes through, holds that imprint, holds that energetic imprint, not just the physical imprint of our DNA. So there's that energy that comes forward through the emotions, through the spiritual side as well, in the seed and in the egg, and how that can affect the baby that comes through Earthside. So once I really was shown that, this was about 13 years ago, and started working with that with my clients, kind of a little bit undercover, because kind of 13 years ago, shamanic stuff wasn't talked about as much as it is now, which is great that it's opening up. I'm so excited about that. But I kind of said, I'll just do some Reiki if that's okay. So a lot of the times I've been going under the guise of Reiki, but it's really been working with the shadow and the light, not just the light. But yeah, working with the man and the woman, also in conscious couples counseling. So them becoming aware of what they haven't healed with their relationship with the mother and father was just always so powerful. And a lot of the times, if not all the times, when they came to that space of healing and clearing and releasing, you know, resentment, anger, sadness, grief, a lot of the times shame and guilt for the men, that they were falling pregnant, you know, and it's like, okay, this isn't just the herbs, this isn't just the Reiki, it's they're doing the work, you know, they're doing the work to heal those imprints that have come forward from the generations behind. And I think it's really our divine responsibility as human beings, regardless if we're into the spiritual stuff or not, to do that, you know, especially if we're thinking about becoming parents. So for me, being a mum of two boys, it's you know, it's a constant thing, you know, stuff comes up, I still get triggered, and it's like, okay, breathing into that, you know, where is that coming from? Is that coming from this lineage or that lineage, or is it just my own shit that I need to clear? And in doing so, it's really, to me, loving them the best way that I can, because if I can clear my stuff, it's going to make my boys' lives a lot easier, because they don't have to carry my emotional or mental or spiritual burdens. You know, clearly they've got some of my genetic physical DNA defects, but we're working on those as well.
Oh, beautiful.
They've got all the beautiful stuff as well, clearly, you know.
Of course they do, and there is a lot of that. So,
oh, blessings.
I would love to chat more with you about, like, I guess conscious preconception is kind of the wording that you use, and for me, conscious conception is a massive piece that I'm working with at the moment. So, I would love to just dive into that a little with you on what does that mean for you? What does that mean to you?
So conscious preconception. I'll try and just put it in really, really easy terms so everyone can understand. I mean, with my first child, it wasn't really a planned or a conscious preconception. It just happened. And with that, there was different energies at play throughout my pregnancy that I was really conscious of. And it encouraged me to become more conscious in the pregnancy and the birthing process. But with my second child, because, you know, I knew more, I knew better, and I actually, me and my partner at the time, went into how we can consciously, kind of what I was mentioning before, consciously release stuff from our mother and father's, you know, lineage, and how that's affected us. So doing that work prior to even making love to create the child. And then, you know, part of the conscious preconception care is also, you know, if you choose, doing the naturopathic stuff. So, you know, taking the herbs to increase the progesterone. For the man, it might be taking the coenzyme Q10 to increase the mitochondria of the sperm. You know, obviously dropping out your alcohol and your caffeine, your kind of acidic things, and increasing your fruit and veg, those basic things. But you know, you can go nuts with it all. You can go into breath work and yoga, but then also at the deeper or the more intimate side, I guess, is consciously planning, like, when you'd like to conceive that child. You know, like, whether, I mean, we didn't necessarily go, oh, we want to have a Sagittarius, so let's check out the, you know, I know people that do that though.
Right.
But yeah, but we, you know, I'm kind of like really saying stuff here that my ex-husband doesn't even know about, but that's okay. I looked into the moons, and I did look into, you know, full moons and new moons, and I chose specific time, and also a time that I was really, 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 truly in alignment with myself, and we were really, really connected. You know, not just on a womb and, you know, penis energy level. It was more so in a space where there was soul gazing going on. You know, there was open communication, and I knew in that moment when we made love that we had conceived our second child instantaneously. Like, I just knew. And that's that part where the conscious, you know, conception comes in. It's just like, wow. And we both looked at each other and started crying, and was like, that was it. Like, It's just happened. And there was no doubt. And for me, because we approached that creating that child in a different way than the first one, for me, the pregnancy was completely different.
Wow.
It was really, really relaxed and grounded, and hence his name's Bodhi, because he's just like little Buddha.
Awesome.
And the birth was different, and so I felt and see firsthand the beauty of coming from that space when you're wanting to create a child. And obviously I'd been kind of communicating that to my clients and for many years, and putting it into practice myself, just complete embodiment of what we're sharing. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, you did. And I'm intrigued as well also about the part of like being in deep connection with your partner, because to me this kind of leads a little into sacred sexuality. And
Totally.
I feel like sometimes sacred sexuality, people are a little scared because they can perhaps think it's some big thing that you have to go to the tantra course or have a whole heap of experience in, which you and I both know is not true. So I'm wondering if you can speak into like your experience around sacred sexuality and how you feel that impacts conscious conception.
I'd love to. This is exciting stuff now.
Yeah.
So, I'll just mention, and I have mentioned, that I'm not a Tantra practitioner, and I haven't done a million courses or what have you. I have done the Kudushka course and read a lot of books, but for me more so, my initiation into sacred sexuality was really just tapping into my body, like really tapping into my body and my innate wisdom of what feels right, like what feels good for me right now. And what feels dishonoring, like, am I loving myself through allowing this to happen, or am I loving him through doing this, or am I just doing it out of trying to please through some distorted belief or idea that this is what a man likes or a woman should do, and I just really started listening, and we really started communicating with each other. And he had experience with a Tantra master for 10 years prior to meeting me. So I was being led a lot of the times, and I loved that, because I could totally go into surrender mode and be vulnerable and be in my feminine, because a lot of the times throughout my life I'd had to step into the masculine to protect myself, as a way of survival. So him holding space for me to just really drop into be vulnerable and merge in that way allowed me to open my heart in a way that I hadn't experienced before in lovemaking. So the more that we practiced that, the deeper we went, till the space where I guess the bodies dissolve and you are not of physical form, and you're just movement and breath, dancing as one, experiencing consciousness, and the sex disappear completely, whether you're male or female, and it's cosmic and it's divine love, and so I really do believe isn't even the right word. Like, to me it's truth that you can attain spiritual enlightenment through sacred sexuality.
Yeah, thank you. I completely agree with that, and I feel like it's a piece that I would just love so many more people to experience, and I feel it requires moving through the shame and the fear in order to be able to realize that we can go that deep with someone. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, my pleasure.
Experience.
Yeah, no, easy. I mean, I think a big part of it is just really, for me, being with a partner. Well, at the moment I'm not even partnered, and I'm still experiencing this. So allowing yourself to just drop out of that guilt and fear and shame, and if you're a woman, and this is another part of the conscious preconception that I've been sharing with women, and we go through in the womb, right, is getting in touch with your, you know, your sacred moon cycle as well, and removing the shame around that, you know, and the times we've been shushed or hushed to not talk about it, or that it's dirty, or whatever the beliefs are that, you know, you've had from parents or society. And really owning that part of ourselves is just another way to drop into the power of being a woman, and then you can share that even more so in relationship, or if you're by yourself, through self-pleasuring, you know.
Yeah, thank you for bringing in the cycle as well. I actually would like to touch on that a little more with you,
Sure.
because I feel, actually maybe you can just share, like, why would a woman want to get in contact with her cycle and to journey with that?
Oh, it's just like just that question just took me right back to when I really started removing, as I said before, the shame and the guilt and the fear and the negative beliefs around menstruation, which was 12 or 13 years ago. And, you know, I don't know if it was like this for everyone, but for me, when I started menstruating at 14, it was kind of like, here's a tampon. And I was like, well, what do I do with that? You know, like, and that was it. You know, that's all kind of that was talked about. And there was, I mean, bless mums. Sorry if you get to watch this. No blame. Love you.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was 30, I realized how disconnected I had become with my own being as a woman, and how that had played out in my life with men, well, with boys even, you know, through my teenage years, and the trauma that I had created, you know, and brought in through that, through not really knowing my womb and knowing my yoni, and loving that aspect of self. So yeah, at 30, I remember vividly being in the shower, and this is a bit graphic, but
I'm all for graphic.
you know,
Don't get over it.
I was menstruating, and I started, like, you know, playing with my blood on the shower floor, and like making like paintings and stuff, and for me it was the first time I'd actually touched it. And
Wow.
I was 30-year-old woman, you know, like, without fear or without judgment or without, you know, shame or guilt. And it was so empowering, you know, and I just thought from there, it was just this conscious decision, like, I'm going to really get to know this part of my body, and love it, you know, and forgive it, and forgive myself, and forgive all the men that have been there. And this is before any of, you know, I knew about any of the courses like Easter or, you know, Kudushka, or any of those sacred womb practices that are being used now. I kind of just innately, intuitively decided that this is what I was going to do. So I ended up going up to the mountain where we lived in Currumbin and free bleeding under the full moon. And my husband at the time was just like, what are you doing? Like, and I'd run up there naked like this little witch and take my crystals and
Awesome.
yeah, so it all kind of started for me there. But the benefit of doing that was self-empowerment, you know, and self-love and self-care and self-nurture, and really connecting in with the earth again, you know, like mother earth, like goddess Gaia, and yeah, and accepting her love and her groundedness, and as my own, and really connecting my womb in with her womb. And that's when my shamanic stuff started really coming to the forefront too. I wasn't trained back then, but my Native American guide came through, and my wolf, and they used to talk to me, and you know, like, really connecting in with the elements and nature spirits. And yeah, it all started really opening, you know, once I started loving that womb space. So it's not just about, you know, the vagina or sex. It's about coming into creation with all of the elements within your own being, and seeing that reflected, you know, outside of yourself in nature as well. So Yeah. I mean, I could go on about that.
Oh yeah, and I'm so feeling you in that, because it's when I started to journey with the womb as well that the shamanic gifts opened, and it really, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, as
yeah.
it
So
does,
it's
right?
definitely one of the reasons to work with the womb. And so I
Yeah.
feel like asking you, like, if a woman never had journeyed with her womb, didn't even know that it was a thing that you could do any type of womb work other than have a baby and bleed, where would you, what's some tips that you would give her to start connecting into her womb space?
Oh, beautiful. Gosh, there's so many, but let's keep it relatively simple.
Mm.
So, a great thing to do would be to start just holding your yoni, the external part of it, with your bare hand, naked, at any time of the day, night, maybe not, on a bus, but you could if you wanted to.
People would
But
talk, but
yeah. Yeah, so at night time is a nice time, like just as you're about to go to bed, just feeling into three things you're grateful for, and then just putting your hand there at the entrance of your yoni, and not necessarily having to, penetrate it at all with your fingers or a vibrator or a wand or what have you, just holding it in that space. And I always use my left hand, which is, connected to the heart chakra, and just sending love from your heart down to that space, and you can also do that with the two hands on your womb space. So just the left and the right over the womb, and you can feel the heat and the love coming from your heart. So just to actually connect into that space again, like even that is challenging for some women, is big for some women. And when you're doing that, if you can also just be conscious of your breath, like, so just breathing in through the nose and allowing that womb to just expand, and then breathing out, like, with a sigh, and just exhaling, and really kind of just breathing out any fear or tension or shame or guilt or fear, and breathing in that, that love and that peace and that forgiveness and that wholeness. So that's just a really simple beginner's thing. I mean, you can obviously move up into, using rose quartz yoni eggs and rose quartz crystal wands, and using that for self-pleasure or with a partner, and not even trying to get to an orgasmic state, just exploring, and allowing whatever emotions to come up, and that might be anger for some women, that might be tears for some women, and that's okay. Like sometimes still when I do it, that happens because the womb and the yoni stores our emotions.
yeah.
So that's why it's so important for me to do these clearing and self-loving and self-nurturing practices. And obviously Sacred Womb Wisdom, which is a workshop that I run, is a beautiful introduction to this work. It's only a day, and it's really gentle. And you don't need any previous experience. And there's only about 8 women, so no one feels threatened. You don't have to stand up and talk about your past traumas or anything like that. It's for all women, regardless of whether you've had, sexual abuse or sexual trauma, or, it can just be if you want to get more in touch with your own femininity or your own masculinity for that. Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, there's your beautiful retreat that you run, which is more on the end of really diving deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Still can't believe we're combining the two of them. I'm very excited.
I am too. I am too.
I'm back to the excitement again.
Lovely. And obviously there's so many books as well, like there's some amazing books out there.
Yeah.
Which maybe we can put in the comments later or something.
Yeah, I feel like we'll put in the comments later links to like whatever you've got coming up, and
Sure.
any books that you would recommend, and just to your page as well, so people who maybe can't make it to the next events, they can just see what you're up to, and I'll put one for the retreat as well. So
yeah, beautiful. Sounds good.
I actually felt like it's interesting. I feel this piece of like wrapping up, and then I felt there was one last little question that wanted to come through. Actually, there's 2 that want to come through, and I'm going to honor them and bring them both through. So One is, what would you say to women who don't have a womb around connecting to their womb?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for bringing that up. And that's so important, like that just brings so much love to my heart and almost tears to my eyes, because it is totally possible to connect in with your womb if you've had, or if you don't have one, if you've had a hysterectomy, or if you're a man, or if you have gone through, if you're not menstruating anymore, you're in your crone days. So basically you can still connect in, like I was mentioning, with your hands and your breath. You can still do the sacred womb wisdom. You can still experience the initiation or the transmission of the rite of the womb, because really you're connecting in with your spirit womb, because we are not just these bodies. We are not just this physical form. And we have these etheric templates. And you have that energy there to tap into and to feel into. So if it's something that you feel drawn to do, it's totally possible.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So the other question that I would love to ask you, which is a question that I ask all of my guests, and I didn't pre-warn you about it, so it's a little surprise. So considering that, this is part of Inside the Temple and launching Inside the Temple, I'm wondering, what does the temple mean to you?
The temple in general, or your temple?
No, the temple in general, not my one.
Oh, the temple. What does the temple mean to me? The temple means to me, well, the temple to me is a sacred space. So it's a sacred space that we can create either on our own or in circle with other women or with other men, in groups, in communities, not just in one suburb or one country, but collectively, internationally. And that's what I'm hoping and praying for, that this really takes off for you, sweetheart, because I really see the divine purpose in it. So for me to be in temple space is to really be honoring all my gifts and all my abilities as a divine being that I am, but also acknowledging and accepting my shadow when it arises as well. So the fullness of my being, and integrating that daily, and to be seeing that in other people as well. But I think, I don't know, for me, being on earth is a beautiful temple too.
Yeah.
It is. But we can create them, individually, separately, or as one.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like there's many.
Yeah.
There's many temples. But of course, it does take me back to Atlantean and Lemurian days and my Egyptian priestess days as well. I'd be lying if it said it didn't.
Yeah.
It just all comes in straight away. It's like that temple space. But really being in our inherent power, and being in alignment with our higher self and with source, and embodying that and bringing that through to share that with others, so that they can tap into their own being and feel that as well. And not only feel it, but really start living it, Yeah. And I feel like in temple space, we have the opportunity to do that. And when we're around other people's energy who are in that energy and sharing that energy, it helps us to evolve faster and ascend faster, So it's potent.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful, and I'm honoured to be a part of it in any way, shape or form. Because we're all here to serve each other, It's not just one guru, master, priestess, goddess, wizard, witch, like we're all facets of the diamond.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like we're moving more and more towards realizing that, remembering that we are all part of the one, and that actually we can co-create and build things together, and it's not about you or about
Yes.
me or about the guru. It is about each of us sharing the piece that's coming through for us in that moment and growing together. So
yeah, beautiful.
so thank you so much for your time. I'm deeply grateful. And for anyone who's been watching this, this really is just to give you a taster of Sally. You can tell that she has a lot of wisdom, and there are so many different gems that I could dive into with you, Sally. Like, I could spend hours and hours chatting with you, and hopefully once Inside the Temple is properly launched, we'll have the opportunity to go deeper together. And yeah, so if you've been watching this and you've enjoyed what Sally has to share, she'll share links in the comments after, as will I. If you want to hear more about the temple and you want to know more about the temple arts, you just want to be involved in the temple, there'll be a link for the Kickstarter campaign for Inside the Temple. I would love you to check that out. This is a platform that's not about me. I'm just a vessel that's birthing this through, and I really want that to be so clear. People keep on thinking that this is my project. It's not my project. I'm just the mama birthing her. And so this is a community thing of, I really want the energy of a lot of people involved in this. And so, share this live or have a look at the Kickstarter and share it with anyone who you feel might be interested to be involved or to financially support. And if you're in a position to financially support in any way, that would just be incredible, because this campaign really deserves, or this platform really deserves, to be launched in the way that it deserves. It deserves to be launched in the way it deserves. That's helpful. Deserves to be launched in the way that it I can't get my words out now, but you know what I'm saying. So I need your help is what I'm saying. So I get tongue-tied at the end. Yeah, so all the links will be in the comments, and thank you, darling. I really, I'm excited to work with
Thank
you.
you.
I really love and honor the
Me
work that you
too.
do and the gift you bring to the world.
Thanks, sweetheart, and likewise. And thank you so much for being the vessel that Inside the Temple has come through. And I really see and feel what you're trying to create, not trying to, what you are creating, and what you're getting out there. And I really support that and you in this, because I think it's important, that people are able to attend or listen and connect in with these kind of sharings and wisdom when they can't necessarily afford an airline ticket overseas to a retreat, or can't afford a workshop price or a retreat price, So I think it's beautiful creation, and I support it 100%. So thanks to
You.
everyone watching as well,
Yeah.
and I'll speak to you guys soon.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.